Hello OTCers, this is Monday, the morning after the night before for the players of Barcelona and especially for the players of Real Madrid after the Supercopa de España final in Saudi Arabia on Sunday. And I guess if we're trying to gauge how Real Madrid might be feeling, you've got to go back to a very simple quote from Luka Modric after the game where he said, "It's not at all a good thing that we've managed to concede 9 goals in 2 games to our biggest rivals." And that really is the only way you can frame it. You look at all the apparatus around this really ridiculous expanded Supercopa, something that's a pain. It's a pressure on the calendar of these players, these coaches, these clubs, although obviously the clubs are very happy about the financial aspects of it. This expanded tournament that no one really needs, and the fact that it's in Saudi Arabia as well. And you think, does it really have any meaning? Well, yes, it does have meaning, because whenever Barcelona play Real Madrid, it has meaning. We can talk about the luster having come off El Clásico in recent years. Maybe it's not as important as it used to be. Well, I think it's going back towards being just as important as it always was. Not because we're suddenly back to Pep Guardiola Barcelona, but we are back to a Barcelona team that is as entertaining and captures the imagination as much really as any Barcelona team has since the 2015 European champions under Luis Enrique. And of course, we expected them to be bringing up the rear to Real Madrid, who've been fitting out this dream midfield in recent years with Tchouaméni, with Bellingham, with Camavinga, and that's even before they got Kylian Mbappe. So when we look at the magnitude of Real Madrid's defeat, yes, it matters. And yes, it really hurts for them. Barcelona were fantastic again, just as they were in the last edition of El Clásico when they won 4-0. And it's a huge problem, this, for Real Madrid. The overreaction that surrounds El Clásico, and you can understand why, because it's arguably the biggest football showpiece in the world, maybe stymies Real Madrid in their quest to get business done this season. Now, I think if you look at the two teams, Barcelona, and this match is maybe the season in microcosm in that sense, have played the better football this season, or for a lot of this season. Barcelona have been wonderful to watch for a lot of this season. We saw a lot of that in this Supercopa final. The fact that Lamine Yamal was fantastic again and scored a brilliant goal. Lewandowski stepped up. Rafinha was perhaps their best player, as he's pretty much been Barcelona's best player all season, even though he's in a way slightly anachronistic to what they're trying to do and what they would like to do under Hansi Flick. But I think Flick is the person we should focus on the Barcelona side, really, because the Spanish media today, and especially the pro-Madrid papers, are full of Hansi Flick giving a tactical lesson to Carlo Ancelotti, something that perhaps we didn't expect. Now, Ancelotti, his 4-3-3 tactics have been described by Marca on Monday as absolute suicide against Barcelona. And I think you can understand that. Obviously, Real Madrid's counters worked really well in the opening part of the game, even if Barcelona thought they should have had a foul on Gavi by Vini Junior before he set up Kylian Mbappe for that brilliant opener. And Kylian Mbappe, interestingly, having received so much criticism so far this season, is the one Real Madrid player who has really escaped criticism in the Madrid-based media at the start of this week in the aftermath of the Supercopa. But the rest of that half for Real Madrid after they took the lead went really, really badly, of course. They fell apart as they fell apart in the last Clásico. And I guess the real danger for Real Madrid at this point, if they move on from this Supercopa, in the context of the season, it could mean absolutely nothing. They're still in a good position to win La Liga. They're still in a good position to win the Champions League, because they always are. We'll come to the Club World Cup in later editions of OTC, I suppose. But those are the two big ones for them. And they're in a really good position to be competitive for them both. In this weekend, of course, Atletico, with their 14th successive win in all competitions, went back to the top of La Liga. That puts them just 1 point in front of Real Madrid, 6 in front of Barcelona. So even though we have that feeling, particularly the morning after the El Clásico Supercopa edition, that it's Barcelona who've got the upper hand, that Barcelona are in a great position, actually, Barcelona trail Real Madrid by 5 points in La Liga. And that is a not easy obstacle to surmount, especially when you've got to assume that Real Madrid are going to improve as the season goes by. They've still got players to come back, particularly in defence, that Kylian Mbappe and Vinny Jr. and Bellingham are all going to click that little bit more as time goes by. But of course, the danger is, because El Clásico feels so big, that Real Madrid might just overreact. The media pressure on them is absolutely immense at the moment. There is no doubt in my mind, or I think the minds of most sane people, that Carlo Ancelotti is still the right person to lead Real Madrid going forward, certainly to the end of this season. And they seem to have a medium-term succession plan. Most people believe that Xabi Alonso will go on to be the coach of Real Madrid next season. Now, of course, as Luka Modric said, when you frame it as conceding 9 goals in 2 games against your greatest rivals, it's a humiliation that's quite hard to get over. It clouds the mind. It makes it difficult to think of things as clearly as you should. And, you know, they are in a position still where they should be able to achieve all their objectives for the season. I think the biggest obstacle to them doing that is overreacting to El Clásico. Now, I guess, is Carlo Ancelotti going to be sacked off the back of this one, albeit absolutely disastrous on a sporting level result? No, he's not. But does it pile pressure on him where it makes the next negative result a lot worse than it actually should be? Yes, it does. And that's a huge problem, because there is no situation in which removing Carlo Ancelotti would put Real Madrid in a better position to achieve what they want to achieve for the rest of this season. So even though he's been criticised for his tactics, I think it's quite notable that also some of the individual players, apart from Mbappe, as we said, have really been run through the mill as well by the Madrid-based media in the last day or so. So Vinny, for example, who's loved by everyone who loves Real Madrid, has received a lot of criticism for his performance, for allegedly not turning up in the Supercopa final, of his influence waning and waning as the game went on. So really, I think there is a sense still around Madrid that, look, this has been a terrible result. We have to focus. We have to make sure we get past this. Because if you did get rid of Carlo Ancelotti, for example, who would you replace him with? Well, even if Alonso is the medium term and the long term for Real Madrid, it can't be him. He's got his hands busy with Leverkusen. He's not going to leave them before the end of the season. That's pretty clear. He still thinks that he can win the Bundesliga back. He still thinks that they can go deep in the Champions League. And for what it's worth, I think he's right. So what does that leave? Probably a couple of in-house options. Either Raul, who's the coach of the B team, Castilla, or Alvaro Arbeloa, who is the coach of the youth team. Now, funnily enough, Raul is the name that everyone expects to be Real Madrid coach at some point in the future. So maybe not before Alonso, maybe just for an interim period. Who knows? Interim periods can last a long time at Real Madrid. But even though he's got the name, the belief inside the club is that Arbeloa is actually the better coach. But could you politically, for example, remove Ancelotti and then pass over Raul and go straight to Arbeloa? That's another tricky thing to negotiate. Now, as I said, I think it would be absolutely insane for Real Madrid to remove Carlo Ancelotti at this point. But even if El Clásico and the results in El Clásico don't mean an immediate firing for a coach, what they do is put him under the sort of unreasonable pressure, which means a rash decision might be happening a little bit further down the line. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe as well in your podcast provider of choice to On the Continent, the podcast, out every Thursday. This Thursday we'll be having David Cartledge, an expert on all things Spanish, joining us to talk about further fallout from El Clásico, what it means for La Liga. As we said, Atletico, not Barcelona or Real Madrid, at top of the table at the moment. And on Friday we have a new edition of Ask OTC, where we answer all your questions on European football. So don't forget to get involved with that. Leave a question here or get in touch with us on the socials.